Fleetwood Mac. This band needs no introduction. They have sold tons of albums throughout their career, and they've had many hit singles. Almost as many hit singles as the amount of lineup changes they've had. Welcome to Bryer's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome back to another video. And it's time to bring back an old classic series I do on my channel. It's called Favorite Song Each Album, where I go through a band's entire discography and name my favorite song, and I give an honorable mention. And so, just not that long ago really, I did a poll on my channel, and I said I wanted to bring this series back, and I put a couple bands there, and I had people vote. And lo and behold, Fleetwood Mac won, which was actually kind of surprising because I was pretty sure The Who would have won, but I'm actually kind of glad it's Fleetwood Mac because I feel Fleetwood Mac, I mean, of course you have the big albums. Of course you got your Rumours, your self-titled from 1975, Tusk, even Tango In The Night. You know, the classic Buckingham Nicks lineup gets a lot of attention. But you know, this gives me a chance to really go through the entire discography. A lot of the Peter Green stuff, the Bob Welch era, even some of the later stuff, which, you know, to some is not their greatest stuff. But this is a chance to kind of highlight those albums that don't get as much attention. So I'm actually looking forward to this, and hopefully you're excited for this as well. If you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, please give this a like, subscribe if you're new, and you can let me know your favorite song on each of these albums as well. So we're just going to jump straight into it. We're going to start with the debut. So Fleetwood Mac started in 1968 with their self-titled debut, or as it's affectionately called, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, as at this point he was the band leader at this time, and he's pretty much the guy in charge. But you still have Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, and then there's Jeremy Spencer, and you know, there was a couple there was another guy on bass at that point, but he was only, I think he played only on one song. So solid debut. It's not my go-to era. Honestly, I don't really go for the Peter Green stuff too often. But overall, there's some decent stuff here. So I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'll actually say my honorable mention first this time. Before, I usually said my favorite right off the gate, but I'm going to start with my honorable mention first. And the honorable mention is going to be a song called Shake Your Moneymaker, which, if I'm not mistaken, surprisingly, that's a Jeremy Spencer song, which I'm actually shocked. But that's kind of one. This is not when this album was kind of when Jeremy Spencer was not at his worst. But this one has a bit more of a faster pace. You know, it's got more of a rock edge, which was kind of decent, not too bad. So that's gonna be my honorable mention. And my favorite song is a Peter Green track, which is I Loved Another Woman, which I will say, I do think Peter Green, I do get why people cite him as one of the great blues rock guitarists, because his stuff definitely has more of a vibe, which is definitely something I'm more attached to. Definitely kind of captures my attention more than the more traditional kind of blues stuff that they did at this point. But yeah, I Loved Another Woman. It's a pretty solid track. Very cool vibe that Peter Green's is putting on here. Okay, let's get Mr. Wonderful out of the way. Now, if you've been following this channel, you probably already know I am not a fan of this album. This is one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life, honestly. If you're a fan of this album, I'm sorry, but you're not going to convince me otherwise. But yeah, this is just a huge step down from the debut. And even the debut I'm not that big into, but this is just... Anyhow, we're moving on. So really, it was really tough to pick a favorite song because, again, there really wasn't much that really caught my attention at all. But I did write two songs here, and honestly, I can't even remember how they went. So my honorable mention I wrote down was Rolling Man. Again, I can't really tell you what I liked about it, but it was kind of, yeah, it was just one of the better songs here. And then my absolute favorite song, is going to be Lazy Poker Blues, which again, I believe that's a Peter song. Again, probably because it had a vibe to it that I kind of drew my attention, but again, it was just not really sticking. But yeah, I just wanted to get this section done. And can you believe this came out the same year as their debut? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they were kind of running out of dates. I will give this album this, is that you do have Christine McVie, or Christine Perfect at this point, who's just providing just some extra piano and stuff like that. So it has that going for it, but yeah, I'm moving on. And now we have, without a doubt, the best thing to come from the Peter Green era, and that's their third album, Then Play On. So this is when Danny Kirwan has joined, and Jeremy Spencer is not here at all, basically. And yeah, this is a pretty solid album. I definitely dug this. So the thing is, I think this album has a couple of other versions, where, of course, at this point there are some tracks that didn't make the album. So stuff like Oh Well, The Green Man Alishi, and other tracks around this time. Black Magic Woman is another example. You know, I'm going to be more traditional, and so I'm not going to be including those tracks. But if they were included, then yes, I would definitely be choosing those tracks. But for the sake, I'm only going to name the songs that are on the original album. So in that case, the two songs that were definitely the standouts, both by Peter Green, I think were sung by Peter Green as well. So the honorable mention is going to be Showbiz Blues, and I'm just going to go right into it. My favorite track on here was Closing My Eyes, which is, Closing My Eyes. The thing about those songs, I think a lot of the tracks here, they're definitely more of a, more slower, but they just have a cool vibe or atmosphere to them that, you know, kind of lures you, I will say. Like, again, the guitar playing, just very melodic, very dreamlike, and overall I just really dug those tracks the most, which is funny because I know there are some more tracks that are a lot more rocking, but I don't know, if a song has a cool mood or feel, then those songs are going to stick with me a lot more personally for me. But yeah, those are the two songs, Showbiz Blues and Closing My Eyes. Now we move on to Kiln House in 1970. So Peter Green is out of the band, and now it's just Danny Kirwan, Jeremy Spencer, John McVie, and Mick Fleetwood. And Christine McVie is not quite in the band yet, but she is featured here as a session musician. And I believe at this point, that's when them and John kind of got together. I could be wrong there. But yeah, decent, okay album. Not one of the greatest, but honorable mention, Station Man. Yeah, I think that was a pretty solid track. About 5 minutes or so. Pretty solid. And then probably my favorite song on here is Tell Me All Things You Do. It's kind of the second to last track here. And again, I will say the only problem with this album, again, the songs just aren't as memorable as the stuff that on Then Play On. Everything kind of more, you know, basic. And you know, and probably Danny Kirwan's probably the MVP on this album, because he's definitely pushing things. He's definitely adding more interesting elements to it. I mean, Jeremy Spencer, once again, kind of not really doing it for me. Like, his more 50s inspired stuff just not working. But yeah, overall, I don't have much else to add, but two solid tracks from a kind of mediocre album. But now we finally get to where things get really interesting, for me at least. We have 1971's Future Games, which is the first album to have Bob Welch in the band. And by this point, Christine McVie is finally a full-time member. And you still have Danny Kirwan. You know, of course, you have Mick and John. And Jeremy Spencer is finally gone. But yeah, Future Games, much better improvement here. Again, Bob Welch is including more folk and jazz into the band, which is very appreciated. Some very cool stuff, and yeah, a lot more memorable songs here. So, favorites, honorable mention first. Honorable mention, I'm going to go with Show Me a Smile, which is the 8th song and final song, and that is Christine McVie. And yeah, of course, you're going to see Christine's songs a lot in this video because I'm a huge McVie fan, and I just love that track from her. Very nice, gentle way to close the album. Yeah, great vocals, as always. But my favorite song is going to be the title track, which is the longest song on the album. I think it was like close, yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's like 8 minutes. So it's 8 minutes, but again, the vibes is just perfect. And of course, Bob Welch just absolutely kills it. I mean, great kind of great melodies, great, nice, gentle guitar textures, and nice keyboards, and yeah, just overall, it's 8 minutes, but I feel like it could go on even longer, and I wouldn't care at all. But yeah, there you have it. Those are the 2 tracks from future games, and from this point, there's going to be a lot of great stuff, so look out for that. And then we move along to Bare Trees from 1972, another pretty good album, I must say. And it was kind of tough picking my 2 favorites, but I'm pretty happy with what I got. So honorable mention, I'm going to go with The Ghost from Bob Welch. And once again, Bob just knew how to set a vibe to it. Like, The Ghost just has this very haunting kind of, alluring type of feel. Again, the drumming is very cool from Mick Fleetwood. I will say Mick Fleetwood, very underrated drummer. I feel like he doesn't get much attention, but yeah, he really does a great job having that vibe to it. And even the bass playing, also very great from John. So again, that's going to be my honorable mention, The Ghost. And my favorite track, to some probably a kind of a cliche choice, but I gotta go with Sentimental Lady. I mean, yeah, Bob Welch once again, and man, what a song that is! What a great love song that is. And yeah, just the melody. I mean, the band, and of course you have Christine McVie's backing vocals. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I will say, even Bob Welch's like redone version in like the late 70s from his debut solo album, I think that's also pretty good as well. But I don't know, the original just has a certain charm that I feel the later version just kind of lacks just a little bit. I think they're both great, but I think I still slightly prefer the original over the redone version. But again, whatever you listen to, Sentimental Lady, just a great song from this era of the band. We're in 1973 now, and we have Penguin. So, Penguin, solid album, the only album with Dave Walker in the band, and I will say none of his songs are gonna make my 2 favorites here. Not really good fit. But that said, my honorable mention on here, and I will say this, both my songs are Christine McVie's tracks. So honorable mention is going to be Dissatisfied. Again, just a really nice track from Christine. Again, good, catchy melody, great musicianship on here. And yeah, not much else to add to it. But my favorite song on here is actually surprisingly going to be the first song, and that's Remember Me. Just a great opening track. I love the keyboard, the sound of the keyboards in that one. And again, Christine McVie just knew how to write a catchy melody, and her backing vocals that she does, very great. It just has this very bright sound to it, which I really love. So, Penguin. Yeah, those are the 2 favorites. And we're still in 1973. We have the follow-up, Mystery to Me, with this gorgeous album cover. But, well, I mean, it's kind of, I will say, the album cover is kind of eye-catching. I will give it that. But Mystery to Me, probably my favorite of the Bob Welch era personally. Very underrated album. And so this was another time where it was kind of tough picking 2 favorites. But my honorable mention, I'm going to give Bob Welch the honorable mention this time. I'm going to go with Hypnotized. Again, similar to The Ghost, just has this such a cool, very interesting atmosphere. And again, once again, it's very haunting. And the drumming from Mick Fleetwood, again, just fits perfectly in the whole hypnotizing feel, because it just has this kind of mesmerizing pattern, which is just absolutely killer. And again, Bob Welch's vocals just again perfectly setting the tone, and the guitar playing is very great, and bass playing also really nice. So that's the honorable mention. But my absolute favorite song, and honestly it's probably the most underrated Fleetwood Mac song in my opinion, is actually going to be the last song, called Why. Again, that's Christine McVie, and oh my god, do I love Why. Again, Christine just hit it out of the park with her. To me, that's her epic track. That's her epic in my opinion. Again, it starts kind of slow with just this kind of blues, kind of a blues type of acoustic guitar, but then at some point the piano starts to come in, and then that's when the drums come in, and it's just this nice, gorgeous, beautiful type of melody. And the ending is what really gets me, when the strings come in and then Christine is just coming in with her vocals. That is one of my absolute favorite vocals from Christine, and I think it's a song that not many people talk about. And yeah, that gets me emotional when I hear that track. I mean, rest in peace to Christine. But yeah, that's my two big highlights from Mystery to me. And now we close off the Bob Welch era with Heroes Are Hard to Find from 1974. Very solid album. It's definitely an album that grew on me the more I heard it. Still has one of their worst album covers, but who's one to judge? So, honorable mention. Again, Bob Welch again with his more vibey songs. We have the Bermuda Triangle. Again, kind of takes a bit to get started, but again, the drums, man, dude, those drums really kick in. Just kind of gets you in this nice groove. Again, very catchy chorus from Bob as well. So yeah, that's a great song there. And my favorite song is again going to be Christine. And it's going to be the song "Prove Your Love." Probably a not choice maybe, because again, it's a slower kind of love type of song. But again, Christine's vocals just carries it. Just how she kind of sings along with the melody. Like there's no words to it, but just how she's just singing along to that melody is just absolutely beautiful. I'm saying beautiful and gorgeous a lot, but that's just how I describe Christine. Like she's all those to me. But yeah, it just has this nice feel, and I think there's strings on here as well, which was a nice touch, and nice keyboard playing. Yeah, just another really nice song, and yeah, that's just a very solid way to close out the Bob Welch era. But of course, we've reached what many consider the classic era of the band, at least the most commercially successful period. Of course, we have Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks in the band with their second self-titled album from 1975. Yep, we're in the big leagues now. So favorites, or honorable mention first, and this is when it's going to get really tough, because again, there's so many good songs on here. Like this album and the next one, of course, are kind of like greatest hits in a sense. But I'm just going to give you a heads up. Both my songs here, they're from Christine. So the honorable mention is going to be Over My Head. Again, great pop sort of sound from Christine. I mean, we all know the song, of course. I'm over my head, sure feels nice. Yeah, the song is very nice. Just the vibe of it, so good. Yeah, not much else to say about that one. But my favorite song, again, going back to Christine, is going to be Warm Ways. Again, man, I'm trying to find different words to describe it. You know. But again, just the acoustic guitar playing and the keyboards. Again, it's a slower track, but again, just how Christine's selling it. And it just has this very nice warm feel to it, and makes sense. Warm ways, you just have this very warm feel, which I absolutely love. Again, it's hard to describe it because I'm not that technical, but it's you just have to hear the song to really get it. So yeah, 2 of my favorite songs on this album. And now we move on to, you know, a pretty well-known album, I think. You know, I think it sold quite a bit when it came out. Of course, jokes aside, we all know Rumours, you know, the big one here. Actually, why am I holding the CD copy? Let me find my vinyl copy real quick. There we go, much better. So, again, this is another example of where it was actually really tough picking a favorite song here, because again, there's so many classic songs to choose from. And, you know, the honorable mention itself was hard to pick because, you know, I could have gone with Dreams, I could have done Don't Stop, I could have done The Chain, but I'm actually not going to pick those tracks, even though, yes, those are amazing. My honorable mention is going to be, again, from Christine, Songbird. I mean, to me, Songbird is the perfect representation of Christine's contributions to the band. Of course, it's another slow piano ballad, and you have Lindsey Buckingham kind of providing some acoustic guitar underneath, and it's just the perfect Christine song. Like, when Christine passed away, that's the first song I played. It's just this very emotional driven song about, you know, like, sure, it's about the breakup with her and John. And, you know, I will say that John McVie kind of sums up the song great. I think he's once said that, you know, when Christine played Songbird, men would weep, and he cried every night, and John cried every night. Something on that line. And I think that's a perfect description of Songbird. So that's the honorable mention. But oddly enough, my favorite song is actually not Christine. It's actually from Lindsey. And it's another kind of cliche choice, but I'm actually going to go with Go Your Own Way. That's just probably their greatest rock song. Just the guitar playing from Lindsey is absolutely stellar, and the backing vocals is just absolutely killer, and the drums and bass, like, man, the bass line itself, I feel, doesn't get enough appraisal, because if you really listen to John's bass playing, it's just, especially in the chorus, like, it's just so cool, like how there's some slides in there, and just a good driving rhythm to it. But yeah, it's just a great rock song. That's probably the Fleetwood Mac song I've played the most, and for obvious reasons. It's just a awesome, great song here. So again, cliche choice, but you know, it's Rumours. You can't go wrong with Rumours. Alright, so now we have Tusk from 1979, the follow-up to Rumours. And you know, I'm pretty mixed on it. Half the songs I really like, and the other half, from Lindsey, I'm very hit or miss on. But you know, I will say there are still some really great songs here. And honorable mention, again, from Christine, Brown Eyes. Yeah, it's a very interesting song. You know, it's kind of more moody. You know, again, it's another one of the slower songs, but again, the vibe is just something that always captivates me. Again, the vocals from Christine is just absolutely haunting, very, very nice sounding. And yeah, it's just kind of, it doesn't pick up at any point, but yeah, you're just kind of caught in this kind of dreamlike, I don't know, atmosphere, how to describe it. And of course, what's interesting is that you have Peter Green guesting on a guitar solo at the very end, though. I mean, you hear him as the song's fading out, which is kind of like, oh, what? That's kind of a tease. But of course, you can find a version with the extended solo that Peter does, and I think Lindsey also provides guitars as well. But regardless of what version, still, Brown Eyes, honorable mention. But now we have my favorite song, and we're finally going to talk about Stevie Nicks. I feel like I hadn't talked much about her, but still, she's made some great songs, of course. But my favorite song is actually going to be Storms. Just a very nice, pretty, another emotional kind of driven song about, you know, another relationship type of song. But I think Stevie sings it really nicely, and just the guitar sounds very cool, very nice. And it's just a very nice song from Stevie. I think it's definitely one of her more underrated songs, I think. I don't hear many people talk about Storms, but that's definitely a highlight for sure. Okay, we move on to Mirage from 1982. Okay, another pretty good album. Better than Tusk, I must say, but that's just my opinion. Okay, favorite song. It's going to be the kind of the big hit on here, Hold Me. Yeah, you have Christine and Lindsay kind of sharing vocals here, and really the chorus is the big standout. Just that very upbeat, very positive sounding Hold Me type of thing. It's better than another Hold Me I've heard.
Hold me, never let me go.
But anyway, not many people will get that reference. But again, it's a great pop song, just a very good upbeat track, and there's not much else to say, but it's definitely one of the very memorable tracks here. But my favorite song is gonna go to Stevie once again with her song Gypsy. Again, kind of a cliche choice, but man, the song just has this very nostalgic, very longing type of feel, and the story behind it is very emotional, because I know she wrote this dedicated to a friend that died of leukemia, and you definitely hear that emotional, the emotion behind it. Just the guitars just has this very delicate sound, and the keyboards just providing a nice melody, and John and Mick just providing a solid beat to it. Which is all you need. But yeah, it's a classic song from Stevie, and yeah, my favorite on the album. And now we have Tango in the Night from 1987, probably their most 80s sounding album, but hey, I'm not complaining. Okay, honorable mention, going to Stevie with Seven Wonders. I love Seven Wonders. The chorus itself is why it's my honorable mention, because it's just this catchy melody to it. And I love the intro too, like the keyboards also set the tone very nicely. And again, you have a solid groove from John and Mick, very nice. And again, just this very, very cool kind of upbeat feel, which is this kind of bright sound, which again, I really dig. So yeah, Seven Wonders. But again, for the favorite song, we're going back to Christine. I feel like it's been a while since I talked about Christine. That's not true. Favorite song's gonna be Everywhere. Yeah, Everywhere. Perfect pop song. Again, the bass line from John, really cool, very memorable, very cool groove that provides. And again, Christine's vocals, man, especially in the chorus, when she holds that note, just like one of my favorite moments in this band's history is that moment. But again, it's just a nice, good old pop song that so many hooks, and yeah, another one of Christine's best, and yeah, that's my favorite song here. Of course, Tango in the Night was an end of an era as Lindsay would leave the bands. So now we move on to 1990s. Behind the Mask, where you have two new members actually, and I actually forgot their names. Let me just look at that real quick so I don't sound like an idiot. I know they needed two people to replace Lindsay, so we have Billy Burnett and Rick Vito. So those are the new guys in the band. And we're entering a period where many people kind of dismiss this period, because it's all about that Rumours lineup. But I will say, even in this period, I still think there were some nice songs here. So honorable mention, shockingly enough, I believe was written by Billy Burnett, but you have Christine McVie kind of providing some vocals here. It's going to be When It Comes to Love. Yeah, again, I will say the new guys, they don't really do much for me. They're kind of a bit too vanilla for my taste. But When It Comes to Love, I think is a decent kind of attempt at a more commercial sounding song. I think the chorus is pretty memorable. And if I'm going to be honest, the reason why it's the honorable mention is because Christine's providing some great backing vocals. Gotta give this song something. But it's a solid track. I will give it that. But my favorite song is actually going to be from Christine, because Christine's the saving grace on this period. Even Stevie couldn't save this album. But ironically enough, my favorite song is called Save Me. How about that? I don't hate this album, by the way. But Save Me, yep, Christine, once again, great, just a great melody, great kind of pop sort of sound to it. Is it her best song? No. But again, in my opinion, Christine did no wrong. Like, she has not written a bad song, ever. Ever. And if you think so, if you think she did, you're lying to yourself. But yeah, so Save Me, I don't have much else to add, but it's just a very, very nice song. I dig it a lot. And now we have time from 1995. To most Fleetwood Mac fans, this is the album where I feel like it's placed at last place the most. I disagree. I still think Mr. Wonderful is a million times worse. But again, I don't hate this album, honestly. I don't think it's as bad as what people say. You know, again, it's not their strongest album, but you know, there's still some decent songs I liked. Honorable mention is going to go to Christine McVie, no shock, with I Do, which is, again, there's not much to say about it, really. I mean, it's just a very solid song that was written by Christine McVie. That's enough to make it an honorable mention. It's just this kind, and I do like the chorus to it. The chorus is pretty solid, pretty good. I do like that one. But this is going to be a kind of a shock, honestly, for my favorite song. It's actually not Christine. It's actually going to be the song that was written, that was not written, but it was sung by the new female singer that replaced Stevie Nicks, and that was sung by Becca Bramlett. I should also mention that Dave Mason, Billy Burnett's here as well, still, but yeah, who cares? But yeah, my favorite song is going to be "Winds of Change," which is again sung by Becca Bramlett, which I just said. I know I probably should not like it, but I don't know why. Because I heard the song for the first time, and I'm just like, again, like I said already, but I'm like, I know I shouldn't like this, but oh my god, it has a lot of those that kind of like those keyboard sounds, that very kind of country-esque vocal style from Becca, and I'm like, man, it has all that cheesy stuff, that corny stuff that I love. And yeah, I do think Becca Bramlett has a nice voice. I do agree. I do think she does have a nice voice. And really her vocals kind of carry the song, but also the keyboards. Again, I'm assuming are from Christine. Just the keyboards provided in that track also does it for me. But yeah, I know it's kind of a shock, but even I'm kind of shocked. But yeah, I Do is the honorable mention, and Winds of Change is my favorite song on here. Call me crazy. And finally, we come to the final album in their discography. We have 2003's Say You Will. Alright, Say You Will. You know, kind of a below average album from them. Kind of a disappointing. And of course, there's no Christine. That's another thing that kind of hurts the album a lot. But, you know, I will say my honorable mention is going to be Thrown Down. And that's kind of a throwaway. It's kind of a throwaway honorable mention, honestly, because I did like it, but even I'm kind of like, I don't have much else to say about it. It's kind of like it's fine. It's okay, but yeah, nothing really stands out. You know, again, you have Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks back in the band, but again, this is not their strongest material, honestly. But that said, I will say my favorite song is going to be the title track, Say You Will. And I will say, you know, that's probably the most memorable song on here. You know, it's got the most catchiest chorus, and that's a Stevie Nicks song, by the way. And you know, it's definitely the song like if I were to go back to this album, like that's the song I play first. The backing vocals pretty solid. I know Sheryl Crow's on here, and I think Stevie also allowed her niece and her niece's friend on the track as well, but it's kind of sweet. That's kind of a nice gesture. But yeah, overall, Say You Will, catchy song. Yeah, it's probably by far the best song on here. And there you have it. We have done it. We've gone through the entire discography of Fleetwood Mac, and I named my favorite song and you got an honorable mention as well. So hopefully this was worth the wait. Hopefully you had fun with this. If you're, again, I said this in the beginning, but if you're a fan of Fleetwood Mac, give this video a like. And if you're new, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And of course in the comments below, if you want to participate and name your favorite song on each album, then go ahead. I look forward to reading them. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care, and oh, and by the way, if you have a suggestion on who you want to see next, also put that in the comments. But there we go. See you in the next video. Take care. Goodbye for now.